Hey everyone, welcome back to the latest episode of the Instance podcast. I have a fellow autism mom here today, Deisare Rogers, who reached out to me on Instagram. I know that you've heard me say ad nauseum that I am one of the biggest promoters of the social and online communities online versus all the haters and naysayers of the keyboard warriors that obviously are out there pushing their negativity and false narratives on populations. But the population of special needs moms that is baked into the social media world is phenomenal for exact reasons as to why I'm having this conversation today. Deisare, thank you for joining me, and thank you for your mission, which we talked about a lot before we pressed record here. Delaware Save a Life.
Thank you for allowing me on your platform. I know I saw you, I looked on there and I'm like, I gotta get on there.
I love it. And this is, like I said to you, I have a mission that is about reminding every woman and mother that unconditional love and maternal instinct will never fail you.
Never.
Never. And I know we both believe that there is no concept of there being other people's children, and how the desire to meet the reality of all children where they are through our motherhood is so, so, so important. Give everyone here a little backstory on what brought you to actually just the exact moment here today and your motherhood journey, maybe a little bit about your children, and we'll then get into Delaware Save a Life.
Of course. So what brought me here today is my huddle and my struggles that I had to go through from my transition from Philadelphia to Delaware. My son is autistic. He's on the spectrum and he has behavior issues. And in Philadelphia, he has services. But when we came to Delaware, they looked at me like I had 3 heads. I went from working full-time in a busy emergency room, 12-hour shifts, to having to quit my job and be a stay-at-home mom and even venture out as far as doing homeschool. So I'm like, there's so many moms out here that's like me that has no idea how to navigate or how to even advocate for their child. So I'm like, if I got to put in the footwork and I got to get in the mud to save another mom, I'm going to do it. And that's where I am at. I will sit in an IEP meeting because IEP meetings is so scary. You're sitting around a table with a bunch of professionals and they saying this and that and third about your child. And you just lost because you don't even know what they're talking about.
Oh, I could go on and on about this. I mean, it's almost like it's baked into the equation. There's so much fear and anxiety around it for a number of reasons. One, it's a legal document, right? So you go into this going, okay, this is legal. Like, this is legit. Like, this is going to be upheld by the system. Now,
Yes.
don't get me started about the system's failing all of us, but that's a whole nother part of my advocacy.
Yeah.
But the system of the IEP meeting and how it sets up the parents and the parent statement to be riddled in fear of what that board actually should be, leading from such deep empathy for the child that they have, yet the resources that are available make that whole system and the whole thing of that room and those 12 different people, the clinical psychologist, the case manager, the speech therapist, the occupational therapist, the special ed teacher, all these people that likely have the best interest. I do believe at the end of the day, they have our child's best interest. But the setting with which what that breeds is so anxiety driven. And it
is.
creates a environment that I think dilutes the power of the parent statement.
Yes.
Right. And it dilutes the power. And so I guess what I hear you saying is that that's part of your mission, is to remind people that, that is a really scary situation, but how we can witness our motherhood and our words, because it is legal. It is a legal situation. It's a legal document. And, what was your experience like? What do you share with others about what you've learned and how to navigate that?
My experience was terrible at first. Again, they were just like not listening to me. Nothing that I said mattered. I just, he was just a kid and he just had behavior issues, and this school setting wasn't working for him. So he needs to go to somewhere where it's more structure, not listening to me like, I think he's overstimulated. I
Mhm.
think that he's sensory overloaded. And they were just like, no, my son went from being suspended over 50 times. He was kicked out of schools multiple times. He went from, being restrained. And it got so bad where they know that, okay, we suspended him a lot of times. We can't do that no more. So let's call crisis. And crisis will come into the school and, he's overstimulated and he's, first of all, he's scared. He's overstimulated and he's having a fit. And they'll come in and say, okay, he's in crisis. Let me put him in a facility and then put him on a hold and mom can't come get him.
This has happened to you times?
It had multiple times, but when I always show up when crisis is there, and I always get crisis thinking like, does this look like a child in crisis, or will this look like a child that's overstimulated, or you know, we have to look at what crisis truly is.
I mean, again, I know you worked in the ER setting. I have not.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
being in the community of autistic children, profound
Mhm.
autistic children, all behavior is communication. I really
Yes.
deeply believe that. And
Yes.
so, even the word crisis, I'm such a nerd. I love looking at the core root of like what,
Mhm.
but I believe that within crisis is like panic and fear. And so
Panic and fear.
fear is baked into, and it's a child,
A
and
child.
behavior is, they are looking for warmth, comfort,
Mhm.
peace,
Mhm.
accessibility to someone to co-regulate.
Yes.
That isn't available, they will be behavioral.
Yes.
I mean, that's
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 it.
that's
That's it.
autism parenting 101 for us.
One on one.
It's not the same for the people that come in from crisis.
Right, it's not. It's not. Children are not the same. All children are not the same. And I feel like they are so used to parents not showing up and
Mhm.
parents not advocating for their kids. And they're so used to parents is just taking whatever they give them. And then you have little old me from Philadelphia coming to Delaware and I'm saying, no, I will not allow you to put my son in a facility. We're not doing that.
Well, it's
And it
so
got
interesting
so,
you say, like, this facility word, because it's come up more and more in my own writing and work that, you know, we have in this country gone from institutionalizing children like mine and yours
mm-hmm,
to then saying, "No, it's better to keep them at home and with their
mm-hmm,
families," obviously,
obviously.
to then saying, because of that, the behavior should go away just because they're unconditionally loved by their family. That correlation and causation does not exist in my, like,
No.
and it obviously doesn't exist in the realities. And this is what we were saying before, like, come see what it is actually like to live so that you understand their behaviors from
Yes.
inside the home, getting to school, the
Yes.
school environment, and back home. We need that full picture, especially
Yeah.
when it comes to those IEP meetings, even though I know it's the IEP is about the learning environment.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much stress on the generalization that if there isn't an understanding from what the parent sees at home
Mm-hmm.
versus what is seen there, where is the growth even being able to happen if you're not taking the parent's lived experience?
And
Truth,
that's why yeah, it's a live experience. We're just not trying to give you a hard way to go because that's what
exactly.
they think.
Trust me, I wish I wasn't sitting in on this meeting. The last thing I thought, I joke about this, Desiree, in my talks. I say, no one at 29 years old wakes up in New York City as a mom going, you know what I want on my bingo card? 2 kids with profound autism. That was not,
Yeah.
look at me. That was not on my bingo card, okay?
No, no.
The people are so, they've skewed this to think like, oh, she's just scrapping at straws and she's
Mm-hmm.
just for anything.
Yep.
There is no world in which I would choose to be in the situation to have to fight the system of the IEP board. Why would I ever
Terrible.
have a typical developing 12-and-a-half-year-old? Trust me, that's like a trip to Bali raising her in comparison.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
one understands that because when they're in the IEP meetings, they think, oh man, here she comes. Man, I don't want to do this.
I don't. I
It's what
don't.
I choose to do. I have to do
No.
it innate. I'm primarily wired to protect and
Yeah.
get the best outcome for my child.
Yes.
When you talk about like having to go in and be there when crisis comes for your child, or that they put them on a hold,
Mm-hmm.
talk to me through what you wish more people knew about that process, because I think that that's imperative when it comes to even asking for what your child needs in an IEP.
Yeah. I feel like that parents need to use their voice. I feel like parents need to, it's okay to say no. It's okay to say, we're not doing this. This is how we're going to do this. This is how we do it at home. Um,
Yeah.
they'll sit at the table and they'll say, okay, well, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. My son, he thrives off of pressure. So he
Yeah.
will seek negative pressure because he know I'm going to get restrained. He will seek that. So I'm saying,
Right,
okay,
right, right, right.
let's do this. We're going to get a weighted blanket. We're not going to hold him in restraints because that's not what we're going to do. We're going to allow him to push a wall. We're not going to just automatically go to restraining my son. We're not
Right,
doing
because
that.
because in and of itself, that's giving him the pressure, which is so backwards when you think about it, right?
Backwards.
Well,
It's
it's
so
like any
backwards.
I had this example come up with a friend years ago who had a typical child, and her typical child, she has 3 typical kids, and the typical child, she lived on the edge of a park near my old house, and he was like 5 or 6, and he literally just took off the one day. He's like, "No one's paying attention to me," and he ran off. And okay, but I mean, this kid does not have a diagnosis or anything, and she was beside herself, and she said to me, "Sarah, I don't understand why he did this. Like, he kept saying, like, no one's paying attention to me." And he ran off. I said, I believe, as someone who has a child who is sensory seeking and has
Mhm.
things other than words to communicate,
Yep.
that to your point, they're looking for attention or input
Yes.
in some way. And even if it's negative, because what
Negative.
then is that she came back, found him in the park, was beside herself, and he got attention from punishment. He got attention from being scolded
Mhm.
at. He got attention from her having to put everything else aside to deal with him running away. Now,
Yes.
typical child who could actually sit there and listen. What about the children that can't, like ours,
Yes.
who he was seeking out some sort of regulatory system, even if that came from restraining?
Yes, he was. And I was letting them know that, like, he's seeking out. And I kept on telling them, like, we need to stop letting them seek out negative attention and we need to start we need to start recognizing these things. So he knows, like, I like that. I like the way that this feels. So I'm going to do this because I know they're going to do that. And my son has some separation anxiety. So he knew that if this gets too overwhelming, I'm going
Mom,
to elope or I'm going to do something because they're going to call mom and mom going to come get me. And now I feel safe. So, and I kept on having to tell them, like, we have to redirect him. We have to redirect him. Let's not do the restraints. Let's do the weighted blanket. What's a weighted blanket? You mean to tell me you guys don't know what a weighted blanket is? Can we do a wraparound? Can we get
yes.
a one-on-one inside the classrooms? We don't have that. You don't have RBT? I'm not
Yeah,
understanding.
that's
So, and I'm like, when I come here, it's just like, what is these things? And I'm just like, this will
well,
make his day better.
you're like the masses here. And I know that, in a lot of ways, um, well, I mean, it's the world we both live in, so it feels like everyone is in this world. I know that we aren't. Obviously,
Hmm.
we're atypical, and at the
Yeah.
same time, it is the reality. And what we were saying before about if you actually came in and lived what this life was like, the people on the IEP board would have a much greater generalized understanding of the
Hmm.
suggestions that are made. One of my biggest recent things, and I haven't launched this yet, but I've kind of beta tested it with some women, and I'd love actually to reach out separately with you on this, is a lot of what you're sharing and how I share too is based in this like maternal instinct, unconditional love for this child, getting them what they actually physically, emotionally, and mentally need.
Hmm.
The problem with the system is that it has to be done critically and logically, because
Yeah.
that's what science of any sort of diagnoses is based on, which is like the data shows this, we perform X, right? Or
Absolutely.
this is the system, and like we can offer this. We don't have this. Don't have the offerings to do that, even though it might be
Uh-huh.
needed. We don't have that in our system.
Nope.
I got really quiet with myself because I'm very into trying to logically explain. I'm realizing over time that like I have to logically explain this because anything emotional is going to be seen as fluff, as
Yes.
not specific data, that there's
Hmm.
no materialized evidence for what I'm sharing, right?
Yes.
And so I have realized that like if I can critically and logically put together parent statements that make the IEP board go, that logically makes sense because
Hmm.
there's data that can prove the things that are baked into your maternal experience. And so
Hmm.
that's something that I find it's not going to be the balm. It's not going to be the cure all for this, but it
Right.
aligns with what you're saying about your mission is helping other mothers in these situations to use their voice. My one step further on that is we need to become decentralized megaphones for this, but also remember we have to think critically because the only way of doing this is to put our unconditional love and maternal instinct for our children critically and logically to actually be listened to by the system that is right now not set up to support.
not set up to support us whatsoever. And it's so sad that you have to have like a physical disability in order for you to even get a little bit of help. I feel like the whole mental health system needs to be rewired. I
Yeah.
feel like they need some mothers like us to be sitting in on there to let them know, no, we're not putting this child on a hold. Let's try to get some resources in the house so that we can help this child. The first instant for them is to remove the child. And it's like, no, this mom needs some support. It came to the point where I'm sitting outside of school doing my work because I can't go to work because I knew they're going to call me in 5 minutes and tell me that my son is on the floor, temper tantrum, or my son done eloped and they don't know where he is. So I'm outside in the parking lot or I'm sitting in the classroom.
Do you follow Kate Swenson at all of Finding Cooper's Voice? She's
No,
like she's got 4 kids. Her oldest is severely autistic, Cooper. He's probably 14 now. And she literally just posted yesterday about this. She said, I
really?
sitting outside, the calls have been coming from school so frequently
Yes.
that I'm now just sitting and working outside. And she's an advocate. Her full-time business is like mine, full-time advocacy. And she was, but she shares very vulnerably and raw about this. And I thought we have to share in the mainstream media, and national coverage needs to align and show that you and I are Kate Swenson. She has a bigger
Mm,
platform than you and I probably have right now. But that's what she's saying, is that I have to be so attuned to what possibly might happen because the system is so broken that I need to do my work outside of the school.
yeah. I had to sit outside because either one or two things going to happen.
And I mean, not there. I guarantee you, if I started shouting to my neighbors right now, they'd be like, "Wait, what?
Yeah.
Wait, what?"
Yeah.
And they'd be like, that must be so hard for her." I'm like, her? This is a massive population of all
A massive.
thousands of women that are doing the same thing. And
Yes.
not to put down the fathers. I know I was talking to someone else, a very brilliant public advocate in the public affairs space, who's a father of a child with severe autism. And he said, I know that the fathers are not as included in this a lot of the times. It's primal though. Men and fathers are not as primally wired like we are. That's just
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
an XX chromosome and an XY. We are actually different people. We're different
Yeah.
humans. Okay?
No, yeah.
And at
Yeah.
the end of the day, we are primally bound to tend and befriend, to find guidance and love and shared responsibility as women.
Hmm.
And the men that are part of this, I think are always, if they sit and they're fathers of children like ours, it's not that they don't have love. The love is just it's expressed differently, and it's not as protective physically from the emotional
Yeah.
what their needs are.
Yeah.
And what
Yeah.
falls on the mothers to be the ones sitting outside.
Sitting outside.
Because
Sitting outside. I'm
fathers,
literally.
other people in the house are out there trying to support in other ways.
Yeah. And then there's no support. I'm working full time in emergency room, 12 hours of shifts. And now I'm not working at all. And I'm sitting outside the school because either they're going to call me or they're going to call crisis or they're going to call the police. And we're not having none of that because my child is already traumatized enough because you keep constantly restraining him. So it's like, I'm outside. They call me. I'm outside. I'll come in. And I'm big on call me. Before it escalate, call me. Because if he hears my voice, I can talk him down. I can get him to the common corner and we can work out that. There are steps to take before we go to the extreme.
Do you
Before we get there.
think that happened? I know you said you were in the state of Pennsylvania and now you're in Delaware.
Mhm,
I'm a PA. I'm a PA native. I was born and raised in Pittsburgh.
mhm.
I live in New Jersey now, but had a 10-year stint in New York City. I have experiences with different states, but I raised my children and the ones with disability in New Jersey. And PA, I actually just found out, is actually an autism crisis state,
Yes.
which is shocking because what you're saying is that it was actually better than even Delaware.
Let me tell you something. PA has 1,001 services. Anything that you need, they got. They had wraparounds, support. They had respite. I didn't even know about respite. The
Yeah,
only way we learn is through other mothers because
I
the
know.
system not going to tell us. And that's what I kept saying. My child isn't broken. The system is broken.
Mhm.
You guys put a cap on what you want us to know. They think that it's coming out of their
Right,
pockets or
right.
anything. So I had to fight about respite. I had to learn about, being a paid attendant because I'm home from work because you guys sent my son home on modified days, and now he's going to school from 8 to 12. And I'm like, what are we doing here? So I had to another mother told me, like, why don't you ask to be a paid attendant? And then when you have to find out through other mothers the resources that's out here. I feel like in PA, is such a larger city, and, it's busy. I feel like their resources is beyond on reach. Um,
You felt like
Delaware,
it was more, it wasn't hidden as much, I
it
guess,
wasn't hitting.
it was
Absolutely
like
not.
yeah, yeah.
It wasn't hitting.
That,
It was not hitting.
and when it comes to, like, the community and the school districts, I mean, my children have out of district placement through the school district I live in, because I have
Mhm,
a typical 12-year-old that's in the public school system.
mhm.
Do you find that is that similar? So you went from one public school system to in PA to one in Delaware?
Yes, ma'am. Yep. I went from one public school to
How did
another.
how did the IEP transfer for you? How did that, like
So Delaware, they did not give me an IP when I first moved down here. They gave me a 504 plan, and because they were solely focusing on his behaviors. I had to literally fight for Adolf testing to prove that my son was on a spectrum. They was like, he's just bad. Something don't go his way, he'll flip a chair and walk out the classroom. No, that's not it.
did you get a diagnosis for him in PA ever? Or was that unable to happen?
No, it wasn't able to happen in PA. PA, they just we were working on it, and then we moved to Delaware. And then when we moved to Delaware, we had to start everything over. Although we had all his files and everything, it was like pulling teeth here. And I wanted to even go back to PA because I felt like my son would thrive more in Philly versus in Delaware. So it was just like an emotional battle.
Yeah. Do you think that this, and again, I hear this all the time, and I experienced it, but it was so many years ago. I have a typical 12-year-old. Millie's 10 and a half and Mac is 8. So it's been like, I mean, Millie got diagnosed around 2. So it's been 8 years since I really went through, like, even the diagnosis process per se.
Mhm.
Do you think, and I know back then, I mean, I remember calling developmental pediatricians that were in network health insurance, and they were like, see you in 9 months.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. My son just got diagnosed last year.
Right.
He
So,
just
and
got
how old is
diagnosed.
he?
My son is 11. And
Right.
like you,
So
I have a
that's
typical
insane.
11-year-old. I have a typical 11-year-old, and then I have my adopted 11-year-old. And I was just like, you can see the difference, and he would just I started out as a behavioral health tech, and I started working with my client, and I realized that, he had some of the similar behaviors as her.
Mhm.
And
Exactly.
I whole entire time I was working for her, I did not know that God was preparing me for my own child. So I started working with her, and I got the call, and they were saying, Desiree, I need you to work with her. She's very difficult. And I realized that she's not difficult. They have a routine. They're very structured. And the moment that you take them out their routine, it messes up everything.
Well, it's
So,
so
and
interesting.
then she was nonverbal, so she couldn't tell me what was bothering her. So
Right.
that would cause her to be violent. So then I learned, like, okay, my son, he gets overstimulated, and that makes him fight or flight. So that's why he's eloping, because it's so much going on in the classroom and he doesn't know how to voice that.
Well, he doesn't have the repeatable pattern of what to expect to make his
Mhm.
system, his body, his sensory needs
Mhm.
met, because there's peace and calm that comes with the routine. You
Yep.
know, I don't care where your child is in the neurodiverse spectrum, and autism, apraxia, ADHD, dyslexia, OCD, whatever it is,
Nonverbal.
it
Yes.
doesn't even matter.
Nope.
And again, you can boil this down to, like, just neurodiverse humans versus, neurotypical humans.
Yes.
There is a desire for repetitive patterns.
Mm.
Now, repetitive behaviors can get to be obviously a thing to manage, but at the same time, the reduction of behaviors because of the repetitive routines again and again will always show a more positive outcome for those behaviors,
Absolutely.
without a doubt.
Absolutely.
You know,
Without a doubt.
I guess I think about how to express that, like, again, going back to the IEPs and having the voices of mothers being used, how to share that logically and critically so that it is baked in to that legal document of the IEP. I mean, I would
Yeah.
think, I mean, if your son does now have a diagnosis, you actually have this I can take this offline. There is no reason why you should have a 504 versus an IEP. There's not.
We have an IEP now, and I tell parents it's so overwhelming. I know it's very scary. Show up for your parents. Show up for your kid. Even
Show
if
up.
you don't know,
I
if
don't care
you
if your
just
voice
show
is
up,
shaking. I don't care if you're
yes,
shivering.
show up.
You have to show up. Bring your
Show up.
sisters home with you.
Yes.
Bring
Yes.
somewhere. I mean, I got my hair cut recently, and so sad. My hairstylist for 20 years left, and she's been cutting my hair for so long. Anyways, that's a different RI. That's a a bougie mom IEP or bougie mom worry. But this new woman I was cutting my hair. She was like, I am not a mother, but my nephew, godson, is on the spectrum, and my sister has asked me since day one to come with her to the IEP meetings. And I said
Yeah.
that we need, again, that's the story that needs to be told.
You need support. You need support.
And if that even means someone holding your hand while you're
Yes.
shaking, read your parent's statement.
Yes.
It's okay.
And that's what I do. I will sit on a Zoom. I always request Zoom because I'm here in Delaware. I will sit on a Zoom. I will text mom and say, listen, you got this. We'll talk through it. Even in your state, your whatever, look up. There are parent advocates. There are nonprofits out there that will actually prepare you for IEP meetings.
Yes.
Knowledge is power. I Googled everything. I Googled what questions should I ask.
Mhm.
ChatGPT is out here. Put it in there. I got an IEP meeting. This is what my son is going through, or this is my child going through. What should I do? You just show up. Just show up, and your child. You are a living experience. You know what you want. Advocate.
You
I
know,
tell everybody,
and
advocate.
it really will show you as a mother and woman. I know that none of us would ever in a million years have chosen this as our path.
No,
At the same time,
no.
it will reveal to you your strength, and it will reveal to you what you're capable of. And,
Yes.
I do believe that a lot of times I never in a million years would have thought I would have survived some of those hardest of days, right?
Yeah, no.
And guess what? You do.
You do? Because I thought I was gonna lose my mind. I'm like, "Oh my god,
I
my
think I
son
did
is
lose my
kicked
mind.
out of school." Yeah, my son is kicked out of school now. I have to be a teacher mom. I have to show him what to do, and, now we're home together. I'm used to working, now I'm not working, now I'm staying home with him, and it's just like, if this is what I had to go through, I refuse to let another mom go through what I have to
Right.
go through.
That's right.
So we need to get together, form a community of moms that's saying that we're not just gonna sit down and allow them to walk over us. We're going to advocate for our kids, and we're going to show up.
And you know what? As hard as it is for typical parents to see or even take a glimpse into the realities that you and I live with children like ours, we have to keep showing up and showing what those are. I mean, I've actually received a decent amount of I don't want to say hate mail or hate DMs, but how dare you show your children so much? You're exploiting your children. How else would the world know what the beauty of Millie is or the hardships of Millie and Mac are if I didn't show that? That's the life that I'm living. I need, based on the world that we're in, we need to see what those realities are.
Yes, that's how they are on me on TikTok because I share my family on TikTok. And they like, oh, you just using him for likes and No, I'm showing y'all this is the real world. This is the real deal. I'm saving somebody else's that's out there watching that doesn't have the voice or the courage or even the strength to ask for help.
Yes.
We're not exploring them for nothing,
No, this is about saying that if my child is out here and this is who they are expressing themselves, they are unique in their being my child. They are not unique as a whole, that there are other
Mhm.
children out there that are like this too. And there's other mothers out there that need, again, the system to support. And if the system's not there, it's got to come from the women and mothers that are actually living it.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, I'm really thankful for your work that you're doing. Keep on keeping on, keep on showing. And
Thank you.
you are a powerful force. And I think that it really does take a lot of decentralized leadership from the ground up, from the front lines of all this, to keep being megaphones for change, whether that is 10 people that we both hit today
Yeah,
or tomorrow,
yeah,
or if it's one over the course of a year. It does not
yeah,
matter. The numbers do not matter. It's about keeping on and saying that the power is within the mother of these children to make the
yes.
changes for them. And maybe it not in our lifetime will be grand, but there is a power in the small, which is why Inchstones exists as a platform anyways, is that I really believe that the small incremental celebrations of what we can do and can do for our children are much greater than the milestones that they'll ever hit.
And you keep on. Your voice is definitely needed. continue to advocate and continue to show up, because at the end of the day, you are helping someone, even if it's one
Wanna
person.
That's all
Yeah.
we wanna have purpose in life. So, Desiree, thank you so much. We will
Thank you
link
so much, Sarah. I appreciate you.
course. We will link everything about your work, your TikTok, your platform, the Instagram, everything on the episode summary. And if you could share, what is one Inchstone win that you have had over the past month, for whether it's either you just as your individual self, or with your son? What is one thing that's maybe so small to the the world, but really mean the most to you?
I got my son to actually attend a football game without being overstimulated and eloping. He sat through it. So I was just like, yes,
That
son. So
is
yeah,
huge.
yeah, that is
Well,
huge.
you tell
Because
him
it
that.
gets too loud, he's out. But no, he sat beside me. He actually enjoyed it. So that is a major win for me.
Well, if you ever want a buddy for a football game, Millie will sit and watch football for her entire life in perpetuity.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
you tell him that Sarah and Millie from New Jersey are very happy and very proud of him too. That's
Thank
awesome.
you so much. I appreciate you, Sarah.
Of course, of course. All right, y'all. Well, until next time on the Inchstones podcast. Thanks
All
again.
right. Bye bye.